Whoa.
That's called. Hello everybody, we are going to be starting the stream in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I hope it's ready. Oh, should I show this now?
No, don't show it now. We'll talk about it in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, don't show it. Make it go away. All right. Oh, don't show that either. It's on the wrong screen. We gotta do it on the bigger one.
It's nice to see both, but let me take it off. Hello, Kyle. How are you?
Hey, I'm okay. How are you? Hello, Internet.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
There's Kyle.
Oh, look at all
There's
these people in here. Backhand Pinball's here. Nintendo, Doremi is here.
Hi, Mom. My mom's here learning
Chuck is
about
here.
pinball
Emoto's
repair.
mom is here.
Since she has a ton of pinball machines to work on.
What's up, everybody? Hi. What camera am I on? Ew, God, don't look at that. That's disgusting. That's obscene. Here.
You set it up.
Look at that.
Yay, welcome everyone.
What's
Happy
up,
New Year. Yeah, Kyle, this is our first time back.
Nice.
This is our first stream of 2023.
Yep. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, this is our third calendar year of streaming, even though we've only been streaming for 2 years or so. But you know, whatever.
Come a long way.
We really have.
It's been a year since we saw your last stream.
Wow.
We haven't seen you since last year, Kyle.
Wow. I haven't changed a bit.
How are you live right now? Because my restream does not show us live. That's weird.
I don't know.
Refresh that.
But
okay, we're good.
I went to restream because like nothing was turned on. Anyways, we don't talk about that.
I still had the space music. I love it.
Yep. Bass tone 18. I almost dethroned Jack.
You saw that? He was trying to dethrone Jack.
I was just a few thousand points away from dethroning Jack on his own game, but you know, what you gonna do? I'll have to try it again. It's really fun. I think the reason I didn't do so well is I biffed the wizard mode. I got to escape Nublar on my 4th ball out of 4 balls.
Bigger cut.
And I just kind of flailed, and I couldn't hit the right shots, so oh well. What you gonna do? It's a really fun game. I really, really like the way it shoots. It's great. Yeah, welcome. Hello, everybody. I saw someone say they're sad that Elvira's gone. It's not. It's just right there. We'll work on it later.
We're gonna keep working on it, yeah.
Like, I don't want to, like, take it apart for no reason, and, like, there's parts that I need that we don't have and we won't have for a while, so I don't really want to take it apart and then not touch it for a while, you know? So I want to wait till we get those parts in stock so it, like, I can actually, like, do the work, you know? So, and I don't want to just keep working on electronics because that's boring to, like, 50% of my audience, I feel. It's really exciting for me and mostly boring for you guys. Just like it's really boring to work on EMs. I know how much all of you hate working on EMs, so I'm just alienating 50% of my audience all the time.
You gotta mix it up.
That's right. I gotta leave the people wanting, right? Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. Yeah, man, so I do not have any idea what to talk about. I think EMs rock. Okay, good. EMs are the best. We're gonna
talk about this.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a minute. I think we should talk about some pretty cool pinball news while I gather my thoughts. Check this out. Stern dropped, finally dropped the fancy 60th anniversary James Bond game. I have things to say about this. I have a lot of things to say about this, and I'm going to try to keep it as... I
think it's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful. It looks really cool. It's a really neat throwback. How many am I buying? I'm not buying any because it is not something that I can afford, and it's also not meant for me. I am not a pinball collector. I am not a James Bond collector, and that is what this is marketed and designed for. There is an overlap, right? I love pinball, but it's 100% in my wheelhouse, you know? Just because it's not in my tax bracket. I think it's a brilliant game, and I hate to see so many people judging things before they can actually touch it, you know? It looks like a brilliant game. I love the smooth single layer, or, you know, single levelness of the game. The fact that it has inline drop targets and 4 spinners is just incredible. A really fun thing to do. I definitely think, like, if I were to go into my own opinions, you know, there's a lot of licensors' say in how these things are put together, you know, and I think it's really neat. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of the way the art package is set up, but you also have to remember that this is made for the 60th anniversary of the James Bond film series, right? This is a celebration of 60 years of these films being, you know, made, covering, you know, multiple different actors and so many different bits of imagery. And that is why it is the way it is, and I think it's brilliant. They did a great job. And I really hope I can play one.
Yeah, we have one available if anyone is in that tax bracket and wants this beautiful game. And then you can invite Kyle over to come play.
Yeah, well, I was just texting one of my friends at Stern, and I told him to make sure that when I'm there next month that there's one for me to play in the factory. And he says he'll try his dangest, but and actually, I'm not going to say who it is, but the person I was talking to is the one actually playing the game in this footage. Who could that be?
Oh,
it's not who you think it is, but I know who it is. It's really neat. I think it's a cool game. I think it's really neat that, you know, they decided to go with the score reels where the LCD is. I think that's really cute. I'm excited to see how it all works. I like how, I don't know whose decision it was, but for the 10,000th point, right? Going like a throwback into those 50s games and early 60s games where they just light up a digit. Right, so when you get your 10,000th point, it lights up a little light behind a 10,000, and it just shines through. And I think that's just really cute and clever. I don't know, it looks really cool. I think that we do, from what I've seen, like that pinside thread is just an absolute cluster F. But the I've been going on there and just like reading and seeing all of the annoying, like unfortunate, like, you know, bad mouthing going on for people that have never played this game, but I'm really excited to get my hands on one, and it seems like there are multiple people who are buying them with the intent of putting them in the wild to give people the ability to actually visit their location to play it. So
yeah, I think Pinball Palace in Brunswick, Georgia might put theirs on location.
Very cool. Yeah, I saw a guy, I think I saw 2 people like on their Pinside thing. It said that their location was like, I think one of them was in Texas and the other one was in Indiana, but there should be a couple of these things spread out throughout the country. Oh yeah,
Wizards World will probably get one because they're huge James Bond fans.
It looks so neat and it looks so fast and smooth, and that shot right there, I really love that. Shoot through a one-way gate, hit a stand-up target, and have it dribble back into the shooter lane. I love the fact that there's inline drop targets. It's my favorite thing in the whole world, and spinners. I think a lot of people may be passing judgment on certain things, maybe don't understand some of the history and legacy of pinball and how, you know, a lot of the features that Keith put into this game are throwbacks, right? I mean, Keith has played everything, and a lot of these things are throwbacks to games of old, which a lot of people just don't get to get their hands on, you know? So, yeah, Chuck brings up a good point here. People said the same thing about Beatles. Like, why would I pay X dollars for this game? It has nothing. It has nothing. Well, what's the value, right? The value to me is it looks like a really cool game, a really unique game.
Yeah,
again,
I love Beatles.
It's not in my tax bracket, but man, if I had all sorts of disposable income, there's no doubt. This touches like one of my favorite, you know, I love the James Bond novels. I love the movies. This is a collector's item. This is interesting, right? Stern has made games, you know, commercial pieces of equipment that have turned into collector's items. And it's really interesting to me seeing now that Stern has done this twice, but they have made a game for two gigantic IPs that are made to be collector's items, right? The Beatles Platinum is made to be a collector's item. This is made to be a collector's item.
Midge, I could hear that.
It also just so happens to be like a piece of commercial equipment. If you wanted to put that out there, you absolutely could. And it just looks really neat. I'm really excited to play one day, and I hope all of you guys can too. So anyways, that's enough of that. I've talked about Pinside too much, and maybe I've said too many opinionated things, but it's I'm excited to check it out. So
I don't know if she's still in the chat, but shout out to Lauren, who is our technician of the month for this month out of Florida.
Yeah, Pinball Dudes, right? Hello.
Yep,
welcome to the chat.
Dudes.
Thank you for being here.
They said she said they have a 2001 at their store right now. So that's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, look, I mean, Matt, yeah, definitely the price tag thing is that, but it is being sold as a collector's item, you know? And I think it's a new thing for the pinball world to have a game that is MSRP'd at a price like that. But that being said, this is again marketed towards a gigantic fan base that doesn't seem to have any problem paying for uniqueness, right? I remember, like, I think the first Daniel Craig James Bond film was the Casino Royale or whatever. I remember, like,
which was also the first James Bond.
Which was the first James Bond novel.
No, it's also the first movie.
It was the first movie.
Peter Sellers, and it was a comic.
Yeah. But it was the first one that. Yeah, but it was, even though people think of Sean Connery as being the first James Bond, I guess he's the first one who played the character in multiple episodes or movies. But that being said, I remember, like, some fancy watch company, right? Like, to commemorate Casino Royale, you know, whether it was Rolex or something, you know, whatever, insert fancy watch company. I mean, they made a Casino Royale edition watch for like $150,000. And people bought them, right? It's like, this is a fandom that has, you know, collectors that are rabid for anything they can get. And I don't know, that's who it's made for, you know? It's also made for us. And I hate to see people disparaging it without even seeing it or realizing that there are more facets to a single story, you know, than what they can just perceive from a 30-second video clip. Anywho, that's enough of that. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, one day. Anywho, yeah.
So we have 2001 on the deck.
We have 2001 here to work on a little bit.
Bumper stuff.
So
yeah, what are we going to work on, Kyle?
I didn't steal this game from MFP, but I did buy this game in Monterey. One of my friends saw it on eBay one night, and it was located in a city just maybe an hour and a half drive from where we lived. And he was like, let's go buy it. Let's go halvesies on it. And I was like, heck yes, let's do that. So we drove down and got it. And to my surprise, I think some of the folks at Monterey Flipper Pinball at the time were also keen to pick it up, but me and Ben got there quicker.
You swooped in.
This is one of my favorite games. One of my my other pinball job when I was working for Chris was working at the Pacific Pinball Museum, and one of the first games that the founder of the Pacific Pinball Museum owned was a 2001. It wasn't the first one, but it was one of the first games he owned. And we spent a lot of time playing this game, and it really just has a special place in my heart for a few reasons, but it's because a game that me and Michael Schiess really, really connected on. And it's a really fascinating game. If anyone knows, like, my favorite thing in pinball is definitely drop targets. I love drop targets so dang much. And this game has a lot of them. It has 20. This is one of the first games that Gottlieb manufactured with drop targets as we know them now. There were drop targets on games in the 60s and 50s. Some of the earliest drop targets were like hit a target and then something behind them would fall down, which is kind of interesting. But Gottlieb only made 2 games that had drop targets and 2-inch flippers. And this is one of them. The other one is Drop a Card. And I am very, very much on the lookout for that game. I would if someone could find me a Pop a Card, I would actually spend money on that. But those are the 2 games I know of that have 2-inch flippers and drop targets you can hit with the flipper. I would very much like to have that collection. This game is pretty simple. You know what to do when you look at this game, right? There's just a bunch of drop targets, and you have to nail them. So we'll take a look. The problem I'm having with this game, though, I noticed when I was playing it last week, is we're having some pop bumpers that stay energized, and also we have some kind of crummy kickers. And let's kind of figure out how those interact with each other. Before we do that, I do have the schematic pulled up so we can try to follow along a little bit at home. But let's do like a look through this game. When I was looking at it, it's pretty amazing at this time. I mean, Gottlieb was pumping out like a game a month. These things definitely came out real fast. And the bill of material on this game must have been really high. There's a lot going on here. Let's take a look at the playfield real quick.
Can you bring the handheld camera with you so we can get some
close? Twitch is having major problems at the moment.
Yeah, I keep getting knocked out too. I was wondering if it was anything else.
Yeah, it looks like Steve posted the same thing twice, and seems like other people are having some problems. Are you, is anyone on Twitch still here?
Oh, yeah, I just went to Twitch and it says this content is no longer available.
Uh-oh. Okay, well.
Shows we're still on restream.
I mean, no, it seems like a Twitch problem. Steve, would you mind, are there anyone else saying that they're live? Do you think it's us?
I mean, Draugr just said, yeah, he thought it was his net at first. Eternal Grimmy saying you're live.
Oh, it's back up, yeah.
Wicked Pissa saying Twitch is fine there.
Interesting.
It's Cletus.
Arcade is saying Cletus.
It's his fault.
Twitch, why? Someone go reboot Twitch, yeah.
The game's layout is very simple. And this is how I like pinball. Yeah, well, here, hold on. I mean, if y'all don't want to miss and you want to be live, it is being streamed on YouTube and Facebook concurrently. So, what's our YouTube? Is it Marco Pinball?
Yep, Marco Pinball on YouTube or Facebook.com/MarcoSpec.
Yeah, just on our... Oh, man. People are having all sorts of problems. Well, go on YouTube. Go on Facebook.
No, the 007 music was not actual 007 music. So it shouldn't have been from that. It was royalty-free music that sounded like 007 music.
Yeah, hopefully we didn't get a DMCA'd for nothing. Simple game. We've got an off the plunge feature. Steve's getting kicked off of Twitch over and over again, but some people are having problems.
Yeah, it was an homage.
We've got an off the plunge feature, something where you can try to shoot for a rebound shot. So we have a very valuable shot here for 300 points off the plunge. It's kind of difficult to hit. These are all worth 50 points off the plunge, or worth 300 points if you can knock down the series of drop targets, green, yellow, red, or blue. Let's see. We've obviously got all sorts of drop targets. So we've got... The fun thing about this game is, the one thing I really like in pinball are shots that aren't necessarily accessible from the flipper. So a game that's fresh in a lot of people's mind is James Bond, right? You've got the Spectre targets behind that bouncing rocket. So you can shoot it up into that rocket cage and hope that you get some rebounds to hit those stand-ups. one thing that you'll find a lot with 2001 is it is very difficult, especially with these small flippers, to hit certain targets. You really do have to rely on these slingshots and these pop bumpers here to give you action. The overall goal of most single-player games, and I prefer single-player games because generally they're deeper. In a multiplayer game, the features need to be reset from player to player as it switches from one player to another, because there's no memory. There's not a way for the game. There is a way they could have done it, but it would have been extraordinarily expensive to save states between, different balls. And also, especially when features are physical, like drop targets, it has no way to drop the drop targets back for another player. Generally, single-player games are deeper because the designers were able to have a more difficult objective that could try to be completed over 5 balls. But with these Gottlieb games, especially games from the 60s and 70s, is you're playing for specials. Right? These games were meant to be played for 10 cents, and your goal would be to get another game. So in this game, how can we achieve a special? We can achieve a special for, since this is a replay version, scoring the correct amount of points, right? Which will give us a replay. Or to score a special on the playfield. To score a special, in this game, you must drop all 20 drop targets. And I don't remember, I think there's an alternating relay that will change the light between these 5. And then the goal is to, once you've got them all down, try to trap up, find it, and then nail that target, hear that knock or clap, and get the special. If I were to achieve a special on ball 2, right? So ball 1, I knocked down half the targets. Ball 2, I knocked down the other half of the targets, and I nailed that special. I believe in 2001, once I've nailed that special, all the drop targets will reset, and then I can try to achieve it again. The other version of this game, back in the 70s, there were replay and add-a-ball games. Add-a-ball games were made for jurisdictions where rewarding a replay was against the law. So an add-a-ball was a way to get around that. So the add-a-ball version of this game was called Dimension. And Dimension's really fun, but it's a really crappy game because you can just play it forever. I am pretty sure in Dimension, I don't remember how it resets the drop targets, but I know in Dimension, if I were to knock all the drop targets down and then I just kept nailing it, I could rack up like 8 balls and you can just literally play the game forever. It's a lot less fun in that way, but I don't remember when the drop targets reset or not. I don't remember if they actually ever reset in 2001 now that I think about it, but one of them resets differently than the other. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But
Charlie says they stay down and you can hit the special after special.
Okay, so in 2001 they stay down. I think in Dimension, when you knock all the drop targets down, the wow stays lit, and you can just keep hitting the wow, 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 and it becomes pointless after all the drop targets are down, if I remember right. I might be wrong. Maybe they do reset, but I'm just so good that I can just hit wow, 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 wow over and over. They called it a wow because there were so many different jurisdictions that would ban things based on name. So the word replay would be banned. The word special would be banned because that is how you achieve a replay. So they would. It's funny, on Dimension it just says wow when lit. But yeah, this is one of my favorite layouts. It's incredible.
Is offline again.
Just on Twitch. We're still live on Facebook and YouTube.
Is fine.
Huh. No, I think Matt's right. I just don't remember how it actually works. Okay, so I guess people can still chat, but they can't see the video for some reason on Twitch.
Yeah, video's done.
No audio either?
No, it's frozen. There's nothing there. YouTube's fine though.
YouTube's fine. Well, I'm wondering if we got DMCA striked.
There's literally nothing
There was
to
like
strike us.
there's like literally there was no music on the James Bond trailer.
No, I killed all the music coming from the actual video. So the video was silent and I was playing our royalty-free music that we also played during our entire PinTech Live with George Gomez. It's literally a royalty-free track that sounds like secret agent stuff.
Got it. Well, I mean, I'm
Not
wondering,
actually.
it must just be a Twitch problem then, so I'm not too worried about it. Dang, that sucks.
I'm gonna stop it and restart it on Twitch, at least to restream.
Yeah, so Emoto's gonna reset Twitch. I don't know. I guess no one on Twitch can see anyways, so we'll chill out for a second. All right, well, everyone who is not on Twitch, how's it going?
They're piling into the YouTube.
I'm really excited to see the James Bond 60th. I can't tell you guys how stoked I am to see that. I love a good single level game. And especially one from Keith, who is very well versed on single level pinball games. It should be really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to play. Let's see.
Yep. Well, let's talk. We'll wait. Let's see. Did when it was having trouble on Twitch, was Restream saying anything like?
No. No. I mean, it's saying trying to send data, but streaming to everywhere else.
Maybe the Twitch servers in San Francisco got flooded last night.
But I reset the stream, so it's strange.
So Nintendo DeRami is saying that Twitch is the issue. So.
Yeah, there's just a giant spike in Twitch outages reported.
Okay, yeah. Steve said that
you
there's
looked.
a huge there's a huge spike in Twitch outage reportages too. So it's a Twitch problem. I guess y'all could watch on YouTube and stay on Twitch, or just switch over. I don't know.
Elon.
Did Elon
Yeah.
buy Twitch? If Elon
Yeah.
bought Twitch, I would not use Twitch to stream anymore.
Howard wants to ask a question about a Williams EM. Go for it, Howard.
Yeah, go ahead and try.
Questions are always welcome in the chat,
Yeah.
relevant or not, and we'll try to get to them in
Yeah.
between.
And if not,
Kyle's lessons.
we'll do questions at the end too. So, yeah. Speaking of Williams EMs, I do want to work on Hotline again. I just need to find inspiration to work on more games. Oh, so internet. Here's another thing y'all can think about. I'm gonna bring my Deadpool home from the arcade. When I bought it and I put it at the arcade like as soon as I brought it home, so it like literally went out of the box into the arcade. So it's been on location for almost 2 years now. I think I might be getting it home this weekend or next, but I think what we'll do is we'll do a stream from my living room, and we will go over a game that let's take a brand new Stern game that has been on location for 2 years, and let's see what it looks like, right? We've done all sorts of repairs in the arcade, rebuilt the flippers multiple times. We've had to replace the switch for the Hell House multiple times. Little Deadpool became decapitated. But let's look at other things.
It happens. It happens. I've seen it.
So it'll be pretty exciting. I'm actually looking forward to that stream.
All right, here from Howard. Working on a space mission, have an issue with the game start. If reels are 1 to 5, game doesn't reset all the way to 0 and requires a second start to push to get to 0.
You need to adjust all of the switches on the score reels. What's probably happening is when you're resetting it, they're either adjusted poorly or the switches could be flopping around and sending a false 0. All of the switches need to be at 0 for the game to complete its reset cycle. So the fact that it's not resetting when it's not on 0 means that there's something goofy going on with those switches. I would definitely recommend going in there, going into a manual or finding a graphic. There is a graphic online somewhere that shows where switches should be at idle, or at 0, at not 0, and at 9. So take a look at that, and that should solve your problem. They're dirty or misadjusted. That's real common. What's uncommon and odd is that your game is resetting without the score reels being at 0.
And I dropped in a link to Fun with Pinball's EM online repair clinic for you, Howard, and anyone else that wants to learn more about EMs, or if you have a specific problem, you can sign up for this clinic, type out what your problem is, and then these awesome EM techs will sit on a video conference call and walk you through how to fix your issue, which helps everyone watching and involved. So super informative, great, run by great people. So check out that all free service that they provide.
Super cool. Dwayne Smith. I can answer this one real quick, but just check your manual. I think Bally and Stern put it in a different spot, or pull up a manual on IPDB, but it will tell you which one of those audit numbers will show you the total plays. But also be aware that that is not information that's like kept forever, right? As soon as batteries come out, that goes away, and sometimes with funky voltages, the RAM can get corrupt and you can get a bunch of garbage in your total plays audit unless you reset the audits right from the get-go. Whenever I replace a Bally or Stern game, or like really any game for that matter, with NVRAM or replace the batteries, it is always a good idea once you get the game back on to just like immediately do a factory reset and clear all the audits, because sometimes there's just like, when the RAM loses battery or its power, it kind of goes haywire and it will leave garbage in the RAM, which will then reflect as putting a new battery in a game and having 9999 plays on your game, which is not true. It's just the RAM freaking out. So anyways, let's get back to pinball. Hopefully people have switched over. I hate that this is the episode where Twitch is having some weird issues, because this is one that should be fun.
It's true, but it's better than this happening during our upcoming PinTech Live special with 007 Premium when we get that in.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have Twitch issues during then.
Let's see. So I had my apron off. There's one thing I was doing that pissed me off was on the instruction cards on these things, you've got the ball and play, which is illuminated through this baffle here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I hate it when the bulbs are dirty or they don't shine very bright because it just looks crappy. So I was going through with all of these bulbs here, and I was cleaning the sockets. So what I was doing was removing the bulb. I was hitting the bulb with the socket cleaning stick, and then using the socket cleaning stick to depress and push the plunger out the back, and then grabbing a worn down fiberglass brush and then brushing the crap out of the post and twisting things, and now they're all nice and bright again. This is a game that I did a really quick shop job on 6+ years ago. I think I've re-rubbered it once since then, but this is a game that I bought for like $300, $400, and I wanted to put like absolutely the minimum amount of money into it. So it was like the basic things that I'll generally do. New flippers, right? Nice new plastics. It makes things look better. New posts, right? Where you can see them. If you can see here, there's some really old posts under these plastics, but you can't see those. And that will save you 60 cents. And when you save 60 cents over and over again, you can buy Taco Bell, right? So just that's a pro tip. I didn't replace these target faces. I could, but the game is a little bit rough, and I don't care. I don't want to hit that snowball effect, which I just said to Emoto a couple hours ago. Man, I'd love to restore this game, but restoring this game would mean, new play field, and then it's not worth restoring this piece of crap unless we redid the cabinet because it looks like crap, and then once you restore the cabinet and the play field, well, then it's time to replace the back glass because, dude's like a teeny bit flaky, and it's just like, I don't care, right? The game is great, it plays awesome, and the condition it's in doesn't bother me one bit. So, distracted by Baywatch. I know, we all miss Baywatch. So,
Howard came back real quick with a score reel issue and said, game recognized that the reels aren't at 0. If any reels are 0 through 4, they step forward 5 steps. If reels are 6 through 9, they make it 5 steps to 0.
Ignore everything that you're seeing from the game and make it work correctly. Do not pin much. You know what the state should be, right? When you're working on that game, it should reset to 0. Go and grab every single score reel and make sure that all the switches are exactly where they should be at all times, and that will fix your problem. All other information is really essentially superfluous when you know what it's supposed to do, and we know that they're all supposed to be at 0. So I would really recommend not getting too caught up on that and just trying to get it to do what you know it's supposed to do. There's something weird going on, but you know we know what it's supposed to do and where things are supposed to be, and that's where I would start with that, if that makes sense. I'm trying to get the apron back on here. There's little pegs that the apron needs to slide into, and for some reason it's kind of getting caught up on something on the right side. Oh, it's caught up on the playfield nail. There we go. All right, excellent. I would like to get some new instruction cards and ball and play cards on this game, because mine are a little bit dirty and nasty, but they are a little difficult to come by. Some of the replacement cards for these, the light doesn't shine through them very well. But at the same time, I kind of like the grunginess because the whole game is just a little grungy, and grungy pinball's cool. I think it is my goal for the rest of my life to make sure people realize that grungy pinball is cool and fine, and you don't need to restore everything because it makes it less interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at what this game's actually doing, or one of the problems I was having. So reset that game. The game is not active because it hasn't hit the playfield validation switch. So the game, while it's resetting, it's doing all of its stuff. It knows that it has to reset both of the drop target banks. It knows that all the score reels need to be at 0. Emoto, can you use the other camera?
Yes.
Other camera. Other camera. Thank you. There we go. It knows that it needs to be at 0. But now, if I hit something, it shouldn't do anything. See? I'm hitting a switch and it's doing something, but it's not. It's because it needs to validate that the ball has entered the shooter lane. There is a switch in the shooter lane, and the entire game will not do anything until it is kicked out of the out hole into the shooter lane. So you'll hear a relay go snap as soon as it rolls over, but I'm going to just put it in the out hole and snap. Now it's in, and it's kind of like a playfield validation switch. You know, if you play a modern solid state game and you plunge the ball and it immediately goes into the out hole, you'll just get a ball back if you don't hit any switches. That's because you haven't validated the ball on the playfield. There are some games, especially some games from the 80s, that have playfield validation switches that are the top rollovers. If you were working on a game and you started a new game, you grabbed the ball and started doing stuff on the playfield, it wouldn't do anything because it needs to see one of the prescribed switches at the top be activated before the game will respond to anything, which is kind of annoying. So, wow, there's a lot of people talking.
Yeah.
Okay, people are talking about, Kevin Moore said something. Gottlieb on ad switch for the 9th position on the reels suck. Why is that, Kyle? No, do not try stronger springs. Just clean it, and add a teeny bit of grease. Watch some of the episodes we did on Jack in the Box. We have some stuff going over some score reels. there's no reason to modify. It is a stupid, really dumb design. And then, like there is a set of games, like Gottlieb did it one way, and then they changed it to another way because they realized that the 9th position being the last switch on a set of 3 switches that need to be pushed was stupid. So you can get it right. I promise you. It might take you taking that thing apart a few times, but there's no reason to use stronger springs or anything. To be honest, there have been very few instances when I've ever needed to replace springs on a Gottlieb score reel ever, unless they were missing, of course. So just make sure it's really shiny, squeaky clean, and then there are a few places where it is recommended to put just the teeniest amount of grease. Eliminate every bit of friction you can get. It can be a pain in the butt. I know that we had actual expert David Valansky on with us when we were working on Jack in the Box, and I was nervous, and I'm glad he didn't say I was wrong ever. So thank you, David. I did it right, and he's the expert. Anywho, we validated the ball. We've got a 2001. We're plunging the ball. Let's take a look here. Pop bumpers. This is the main issue. What we're having a problem with is the pop bumpers are staying energized. Or it's doing that. A little bit of machine gunning. We're getting a lot of machine gunning out of the right pop bumper.
Can you put the handheld camera on so we can kind of see that?
Yeah.
See what it's doing?
This is gonna be really, really noisy, but hey, you know what? Here, let's all go get angry at Gottlieb for driving 2 pop bumpers with 1 relay. Oh my gosh. It's the worst thing that's ever happened in pinball. We'll look at the schematic and see why it's done this way. But the issue is sometimes upon activation, you see that? The camera's got too low of a frame rate to capture it, but it is popping 3 or 4 times. See that?
Oh, yeah. We can see it. Yeah. Oh, no.
So, this is a pretty easy fix. Or it's a pretty simple circuit, so we can go in and take a look. So let's do this. Emoto, please pull up the schematic.
Yay, schematic time.
Let's look at this circuit here really quick. So, it repositioned. Here, let me do it.
Do it on here.
Oh, okay, for sure. Okay, so on a pinball game, or on an EM, or in these schematics, right? You see how we've got 2 lines. We've got a line on the left that have indications for coils, which should be, I don't know if you can see my screen. I think you can, my pointer. You've got indications for coils on the left here, and you see a big thick line right here. And then we have a line that goes all the way through to the right, and then there's another thick line here. That is essentially, that is positive and negative. Let's just keep it simple like that. We've got, if we can connect everything between this line on the left and this line on the right, the circuit will go. So let's look at something really simple, the left kicking rubber. Let's look at this top one here, underneath the flippers. Left kicking rubber. So we have a coil, that is a symbol for a solenoid there. And we follow that line all the way across to the right. It looks like, and these dots are an intersection. So this is, these are split off, right? In some parts of the schematics, lines will cross each other, like here. But these lines do not touch. This is just to show where these things intersect over a complicated line drawing. So anyways, back to the kicking rubber, right here, from the left, all the way to the right. And there are 2 switches, left kicking rubber switch. What this tells me on the schematic is if either of these switches close, this symbol here is showing a normally open. If either of these close, that will complete the circuit, that coil will energize. What that also tells me is that there's no off. So if this stays energized, this coil will stay energized until this switch opens. Either or. If one's closed and one is open, which is normal, it will be energized. If both are open, it will not be energized. If both are closed, it will be energized, right? Let's look at the pop bumper here. So we've got two coils that are called pop bumper, right? I'm trying to see where that is on the screen now. I guess it's kind of in the middle. So pop bumper. Let's scroll over to the right and see what goes on with pop bumper. So pop bumper will fire if a switch on E is closed. So if E wasn't right above it, we would have to look. So let's go and look at the index. Let's scroll down and we'll see relays. Relay E is the pop bumper relay. Relay E is in section 2E of the schematic. And the coil is an A9735. And it's an AG type relay. I forget what that means, but I think it's like a, whatever. It's like a, all the switches are open. I'm not going to even say what that is. It doesn't really matter, and I don't know how to describe it because I don't know. Anyways, if we look at section 2, E is at the top. We'll scroll over to E, and we'll see the E relay shown here. So how do we get the E relay to energize, which will thus make our pop bumpers go? The E relay.
Oh, is it not active? They should be active. Uh-oh. I'm looking patent right now.
Hey, Rampamatic, I'll trade you this. You don't need to give me $22K for this game. I'll trade you for one Stern Alley pinball sign. So if we to get the E relay to energize, we're going to go as we go. Right? There's another intersection here that connects, and there is there's a switch on E. Okay. Let's ignore that for now. Let's keep going. Okay, pop bumper switch. That makes sense, right? So if one of the pop bumper switches closed, both of them are wired together. If either one of those closes, right, it's wired exactly like the kicking rubber. If either one of these closes, E will energize. And that will make the pop bumpers go. But what is this? This right here shows us and tells us that the E relay will hold itself on and will only turn off when the on pop bumper switch closes. Right? Let's go take a look at that in the actual game, because this confuses a lot of people. This relay will hold itself on until the pop bumper has made its entire stroke and closes or it opens a switch. When this switch here, the on pop bumper, becomes open, it's like an end of stroke switch, it will turn the E relay off. Let's look at that physically. It might make a little bit more sense. Where's the ball? I took it out. Let's lift the game's playfield up and put it in the service position. Okay, so since it just wiggled like that, that makes me think that perhaps the switches are just adjusted way too close. But we'll take a look. Let's get the handheld camera, Moto, and get off that schematic.
Alrighty. Goodbye.
Okay, so let's look at the anatomy of this pop bumper here real quick. I'm going to turn the ring light on so it'll be a little easier to see.
Nice.
These look at this though, right? Like if you have any experience working on pinball games, this will look really familiar, except for one little silly difference. I'm going to kill the power of the game because I want a poker. Let me get my bent screwdriver here. So I'm going to reach the top of the playfield here, and I'm going to wiggle the skirt. When I wiggle the skirt, did I put the wrong skirts on this game? Hold on. Oh, I'm an idiot. Look at that. These are the wrong pop bumper skirts. They're supposed to have a point. I must have been working with only what I had. Gottlieb games have pop bumper skirts with a point that should be facing towards the top of the playfield. So just in case you have a dead bumper, it'll force the ball off of it. I'll pull one of those. Steve, can you pull one of those up and put it in the chat? You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, well, whatever. Everyone can shame me and laugh at me for being an idiot, but we're going to poke this. So we've got a skirt. The ball is going to hit the skirt, and it's going to close that switch. It's very, very, very slight. You can't really see it, but the spoon here will close and hit that switch. When this switch closes, the E relay will energize. This is the pop bumper relay right here. This will energize, and we can see here, look at the wire colors, right? We've got a white and red, or maybe this is silver and red wire here on a switch with a fat contact. Look what we have here. We have a silver and red wire here, a yellow and red wire here. There's the yellow and red wire there. So we found our switches that drive the pop bumper, or the coils. Then you've probably got some other switches on the other end of this relay that drive the 100 or 10-point relay, which will score. So when the pop bumper skirt closes, this will energize. When that energizes, the pop bumper is the coil will energize and pull the armature in. And you see that other switch down there, right here? That is the switch that will look different than most modern games. When this energizes, it'll come down and it will open that normally closed switch. And that is what turns off the relay. So the sequence of events, we've got pop bumper switch closure. The E relay holds itself on, which then fires the pop bumper. When the pop bumper hits its end of stroke, let's call it, when it actually comes down, it will open that switch, which then kills this relay. And that all happens within like just seconds, right? Milliseconds, right? It happens very quickly. And that's what that circuit was describing. And that is what I was trying to say or show with that switch that holds itself on, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's actually kind of, so you can see how it's wired here too. So do you see this yellow, white and red wire here? That white and red wire is a common between both of these wires here, which drive the pop bumper coils, right? We've got our yellow red, we've got our silver red, yellow red, and then we've got this white and red wire here, or red and white. I don't know what it actually is, but that's the wire we have here on the I'm done switch. When the I'm done switch opens, it breaks continuity to this, which breaks continuity to this, which de-energizes the relay. It's pretty interesting, but what does all this mean, right? Why is Kyle talking about this crap so much? Well, we need to figure out why the pop bumpers are firing multiple times. There's a lot of switches here, and we need to make sure that A, they're clean, B, they're adjusted well for snappy action, etc. Yeah, so I think let's start with the relay. Let's take a look at relay switches and stuff like that. Let's put on the stand camera if you would. We're probably gonna, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move Baywatch because it's in the way. Sorry, Baywatch.
Sorry, Baywatch.
Some people, but not me. We're gonna lower the tripod because that's how I want to do this, and we'll get pretty close. And you know what? I'm gonna bring a light over as well. Does that make sense? Can you kind of like? I think one thing that's really hard for me to do is if someone like showed me like lines of code, I could probably, and they kind of taught me like what I'm supposed to be looking for, I might be able to read that and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. When you're reading a schematic, the way I have to visualize it is kind of like code. Like, what are these things supposed to do? What instructions are these giving each other and how they should work? I'm going to take the pop bumper relay off. They're held in with, oh, can you put the other camera on?
No. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Whoa.
They're held in with little clippies. And take the little clippy out, and then you can grab the relay and pull the relay out of its frame. I like this era of Gottlieb game a lot because they use this really beautiful, like, bronze anodized stuff for all of the metal bracketry.
Yeah, it is really pretty.
It's super cool. So the first thing we need to do with this relay is let's try to identify what all the switches do when the relay changes state. When the relay changes state, what I'm meaning is it's being energized. The way these work, where the hell did I put my poker? Here it is. When the relay is energized, we've got a coil here with a core. It's just a coil. But this coil has a plunger inside, right? It's just an electromagnet. When the coil energizes, it creates a magnetic field, which energizes the core, which then moves this relay armature down. So we've got a ferrous plate with this switch doodad on the end. This energizes, and the plate is attracted to the core, and that's what closes our relay. When I look at this relay, we have 4 switches on this relay, and all of them are normally open, and then they become closed when the relay energizes. That's really simple. There are some relays that are extremely complicated and have switches that are normally closed, make break, and normally open, all on the same relay. So it's a good idea when you're trying to look at these things, just take a look at what you have before you start going in and making adjustments. So the first thing we're going to do with most of these games, the first thing you'll want to do is tighten the screw. Tighten the screws for the relay. They come loose over time, and that when these things start to come loose, it can cause all sorts of goofy micro adjustment issues with the switches. So let's make sure that they're tight. I've got like a 1/16 of a turn, 1/8 of a turn, another 1/8 of a turn. So this one's not that bad. Some of these things are so dang bad that you can get like whole turns before they start getting tight. This isn't cost cutting as much as it is just like being efficient and effective with what you have. There is no reason to drive these pop bumpers independently. It wouldn't change the gameplay experience.
I think he was responding to Nintendo Remy's back before the engineers went nuts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. No, for sure. This is nuts engineering in reality. This is pretty crazy. But it's not. I mean, it's funny, when I talk to a lot of old-timers, I mean, it's like even Mark Gibson. The last time I went to a PPM Fix-It night, I showed Mark Gibson how to change a transistor on an old Stern game. And that made me really happy because he's taught me so much about EMs. A lot of those old-timers find, and when I say old-timers, I mean people that work on these, electromechanical games. They find the solid-state stuff extremely confusing, where I find that very easy. And this is very confusing to me. But if you break it down into systems, EMs and solid-state games, it's not that hard. Anyways, so let me do this. I'm going to let's grab a switch adjuster, have a bit of a screwdriver as a torque manipulator, and let's get a emery cloth. All right, I'm sorry, whatever this is called, a switch file. We're using a flex stone. That's what it is, a flex stone, not like an actual file, to just like get these switches, just, wipe the crud off. So what I like to do is I'll insert the flex stone into the switch and then depress the armature and just give it a little, and then blow it out. Flex stones can leave little bits of crud and crap in your switches, and we don't want to do that. These big contacts, these are the ones that actually drive the pop bumper coils. Let's hit these as well. Sometimes you do need to hit these with actual files I'm going to run this one in through the other side of this switch here because the relay frame is kind of blocking me from getting good access to the contact. Okay, we've done a little teeny bit of cleaning on those suckers. And now let's see if they close, right? So I'm going to actuate the armature here. I've got really bad vision. I need to get really close to these things to really ensure that I can see them closing. And again, look at the travel on this. It's nothing. We're talking like a millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters, barely. I mean, make 1.5 millimeters of travel. It's very slight. But we need to ensure that the moving blade, not the stationary blade of the switch, on all 4 of these switches is making contact. These 2 small ones look good to me. These 2 big ones look good to me as well. I do think that if I was going to split hairs, and I'm going to, I would adjust the bottom pop bumper one up just a teeny bit. I can't show this on the camera because the frame is blocking it, but we're not making like really good contact until the absolute end of the throw on the relay. So I'm going to sit here with my switch adjuster and see if I can do it with the adjuster and just give it a little bit of a tweak up. Get in there. And what I'm doing is I'm watching for the moving blade, which is the one that is inserted into the relay armature, to just bend the other switch just the slightest amount. And that'll ensure that we have good contact. But I also want to make sure that we have enough open space, so we'll never get like a false positive. We don't want the switches adjusted so close that minor vibration or anything like that could cause a phantom closure. That one's much too close. So what I want to do, I'll just use my fingernail. I'm just going to tug this down just a teeny bit more. I'm pretty happy with that. It is a thing that requires a lot of patience to get this done. Sometimes, especially on relays that have tons and tons and tons of switches. This game's pretty simple, and so it doesn't have a ton. I'm going to put it back in the stack. I don't think our problem was here anyways. I just wanted to show that because I find it fascinating. And it was something easy that I could describe and show and explain eloquently. So let me check the chat here. What's everyone saying? I love EMs, yes. They are amazing. Dwayne Smith is a middle timer. I'm an old timer. I don't think Gottlieb did many things cheap. I think Gottlieb over-engineered almost everything that they did. Sometimes to a fault. I mean, these games can be very difficult to work on sometimes when they do need adjustments, like case in point, the score motor. But they are engineered for reliability. I mean, there's a reason why Gottlieb was the king of the pinball industry for decades, and no one could touch them. Yeah, Nintendo Rami is correct. The fun thing about EMs is generally when you're refurbishing an electromechanical game, they really don't need any parts other than cosmetics. The mechanical parts are just so well engineered and designed. So. Are the contacts dirty? I don't think that the contacts were necessarily dirty, but there's no point in not giving them a little bit of a clean when we're having an issue with something on that circuit. So. Let's raise the camera up here just a teeny bit. This one will be a little harder to show. But let's, what I'll do is I'll demonstrate on this unit, and I'll try to do the other unit. I just might need to move the camera. Let me take a sip of water. I'm losing my voice. Let me have a sip of this other beverage here as well.
Orange juice.
Something to make my cold go away, or my COVID, or whatever the heck I have. Let's take a look at the pop bumper switches. So, we're definitely going to want to clean them. But why are they multi-firing, right? Why are they hitting multiple times? Well, we either have switches that are adjusted much too close, or we have possibly a dirty or misadjusted switch for the pop bumper off. I think that's a little bit less likely. I think what's more likely is I was a little too, not ambitious, but I was a little too heavy-handed on keeping those pop bumper switches adjusted nice and close so we could have some hot pop bumper action.
And now they're machine gunning.
Now it's too much action. Yeah, it's a really fine line to get pop bumper switches adjusted in a way where they, like, there's a fine line between good action and machine gunning, or no action and good action. So it's a lot of just, dialing in as best as possible. I don't know if this switch is fat or not, but let me see.
Yeah. If you want to get your game room Emoto ready, we do sell our Marco stools. Great for kids, too.
I remember someone
Wild
came
man,
to me
thanks
once.
for the resub. Much appreciate it.
Thank you. That's very nice. I can't believe that you guys tune in and subscribe to our channel. You guys rule.
It's so amazing.
I'm going to just kind of run my screwdriver in here and try to just kind of flick and hope that none of the flex stone is left in there. But this is where we really need to get close eyes and take a look. I'm going to put my hand on the pop bumper skirt here, try to get my eyes at a level where I can see well.
Good luck.
Yeah, right. These pop bumper switches are actually kind of interesting. Someone came up to me, and I forget 100% how these are wired, but you'll notice that there's only one wire on the actual pop bumper switch. I think it's because one of these being a shared ground, when these close, it will energize. But yes, there is only supposed to be one wire up here. Your game's not broken or weird. Yeah, one thing also to remember with pinball, even if it looks weird but it's working, it's not broken. Don't try to fix things that aren't broken. I've experienced this so many times where people try to fix things that they think are broken, but they are not, and cause more damage than good. If it works, don't mess with it that much.
Nice. Mr. J. Crane was asking, is Kyle scraping carbon off the contacts or gapping the distance between them? You were
Both.
filing down the
both.
contacts. Yeah. You just did both. You did both. Scraped it down with his little mini file and used his mini.
This one's pretty dang close. It's really
Hi,
close.
Almir. Direct from somewhere. Welcome.
Direct from where?
I don't know.
Direct
Brazil.
from
Welcome.
Brazil. Hello. Thank you for joining us all the way
us.
from beautiful Brazil.
We should go visit Brazil this year, Kyle.
I'd love to.
I know. They have a great pinball out
Yeah,
there.
Brazil, one of the few countries that had domestic pinball production other than the United States. So this thing, it looks pretty good. And again, what I'm sitting here looking for, and you probably can't see through the camera, is I am pushing the skirt and I am watching the upper blade of the spoon bend the lower blade. When I see that lower blade moving slightly, that's how I know we've got positive switch contact. It is pretty close.
Wait, jiggle it again. Can we see? Maybe we can see.
Just ever so slightly.
Oh, we can see it.
So what I'm going to do, just because I want to
Your
change
hand out of
something
there.
other than cleaning, is I'm just going to just ever so slightly grab this switch and pull it away from the other blade, increasing the gap by a minuscule amount. Let's check the other switch here. I'm going to pull that, excuse me. I'm going to pull down on the pop bumper armature here. And we definitely have a clean break. What I think I might do for giggles is let's try bending this up just a teeny bit. While I'm pushing on both of these switch blades, not only am I adjusting the gap to be like tight and very close, I'm also causing the relay to de-energize a bit sooner. That could be a problem, but we'll find out. A bit sooner being is if I move this up just a teeny bit, the armature is going to hit that switch and break contact just ever so much faster. The thing with electromechanical games, and generally they are programmed or wired in a way to make sure that certain things aren't running on top of each other. But what you'll find is like...
Thanks, Broadnex. Thanks for joining us.
We'll talk about that later. Hey, thanks everyone.
See you later.
Have a good one. Johnny Demonic, thank you for subbing to us.
Yay, Johnny.
The pop bumpers work on a direct circuit because we don't want the game to be thinking about something or needing the game to process the pop bumper hit, if that makes sense, right? So if we hit a target that is worth 500 points, or 300 points in this game, it will close a 300-point relay. When the 300-point relay closes, it's going to close a couple circuits, but the motor has to spin to score that 300 points. When the motor starts spinning, there is a switch on the motor. These motors turn, I forget how many degrees per actuation. It's like 1/3 of 360 degrees. So like 120 degrees, I think, per rotation, if I remember right. Whatever. There's cams on here where in a 120 degree rotation of this score motor, there is a switch that will be actuated, a switch stack that will be actuated 3 times. So let's take it back, right? If we have a 300-point switch, the 300-point relay will close, the score motor will turn on, and because the path that the 300-point relay has achieved from closing, when this motor turns 120 degrees, 120 degrees, there's a switch that will be pulsed 3 times, so 100, 200, 300 points, and then the motor will stop. The reason there are things on this game that are either direct driven or driven through a series of relays without the motor is so you won't lose those points. There's a reason why a lot of electromechanical games never had multi-ball, because there's no reason to have multi-ball in an electromechanical game. If you hit 2 300-point targets right next to each other or one after another, you would only get 300 points. Because the computer, the brain, can only think in 120 degrees of rotation at a time. This will make a little bit more sense when you actually play a game or get into one of these EMs to see how these circuits work. But yeah, it's whatever. Anyway, sorry, I hope I'm not getting too theoretical. I just find it interesting.
No, that's really interesting, actually.
So this one seems a whole lot further away. The switch, I'm not worried about that. Let me check this. This one is very clearly opening and closing nicely. I'm going to give it a quick sand through here using my flex stone once again and just ensure that we have a nice clean set of contacts here. Since we're working on it, we might as well wipe away whatever crud exists.
I broke it. Not
Okay,
tall enough to reach.
We'll jump back in there and see what we can get. Let's look at another thing that I have been dissatisfied with on this game since I've played it a bit, and that is the slingshots. Let's open up the schematic again.
Okay.
How long have you been working on EMs? As long as I've been working on pinball, really. When I worked at the Pacific Pinball Museum, I needed to learn how to work on EMs because we had over 800 of them, or 900 of them, and I very much enjoy it. Even though it is something that I am not as good at, I can't, fixing pinball is very formulaic and easy, because generally it's like the same 5, 6, 7 steps you need to take to achieve a working game. With electromechanical games, you have the same steps, but sometimes they can be buried behind confusing instructions, like this evil document we're looking at here. That's very confusing. But some of these things are very simple. Left and right kicking rubbers. We looked at this circuit. This is pretty simple, right? Let's look at the left kicking rubber at the top here. So we're looking at the one under right flipper. To actuate this coil, we have 2 switches, and both of them are just the left kicking rubber switch. Look, all of the kickers are just one switch. There's no relay like the pop bumper here, the E relay. So this is very simple. We would call this a direct drive. Well, that's what I would call it. How do we make the schematic go away? So a direct drive, let's try to explain that. And the reason there's so many kicking rubbers, as Gottlieb calls it, is basically we've got 2 sets of slingshots. We've got 2 slingshots here and 2 slingshots here. It doesn't matter. They're both wired the same. This is actually kind of interesting too. The Gottlieb did this, I don't know when they stopped doing this, but the switches, oh, which camera is on? That one? Can you zoom out a little bit, Emoto?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's freaking huge.
It's a little cray.
What are we looking at?
We are looking at the slingshots, the kickers here. So let's kind of focus on this. We have 2 switches. The switches are actually mounted beneath the game. On most modern games, we have 2 leaf switches that actually stick up above the playfield. Those switches are then tensioned behind rubber, and when the rubber closes, it closes the actual switch, which then sets off a chain of events to fire the slingshot. What we actually have here, what we have here on this Gottlieb EM is we actually have a direct drive with switches mounted under the playfield. Do you see these wire actuators here? Where's this one? Yeah, okay. Do you see this wire right here?
Mm-hmm.
That is what's mounted above the playfield. So we have a wire mounted above the playfield, and when the rubber is compressed, it transfers that force down underneath and closes the switch. What we have here is the way the switch is wired. You can see we have a white and red wire here, which if we looked on the schematic, that would be, whatever, it's our power. Let's just call it power. And we can see that the power is actually wired straight to a switch lug, which you can't see because it's kind of hidden. You know what? Let's use the other camera. Sorry, Moto.
Yay. Strap it to your face.
This is super, super simple. Strap it to my face. Okay, pigeon. Got power. Goes straight to a switch.
Okay.
The other end of that switch, the wire goes straight to the coil. This other end of the power is jumpered to this switch, which also is jumpered straight to this coil. And we've got ground. So the way what we saw on that circuit is each kicking rubber or slingshot, is wired to its own coil. When these switches close, this goes, and that's all that it needs to fire. The way it scores is we have a switch here. When this plunger energizes, it pulls into the coil, and it closes this stud right here.
Yeah.
At rest, it's open. When it depresses, it closes the switch and scores a point.
Okay. Cool.
So it's a simple way of driving a slingshot or a kicking rubber. You don't need any relays or anything like that. So the symptom is we kind of have crappy action out of our kicking rubbers. I'm going to give this one to the chat. Why do we have crappy action out of our kicking rubbers? Well, what would cause that in a direct circuit like this? We can switch back to the other camera while chat puts on their like, I know, I'm going to say the answer. And I'm going to drink a drink.
It probably makes it faster to react, right? Says
Worn out
Dwayne.
rubbers? No. Well,
Green.
no, but
Worn out
why?
rubber?
Why would we have crappy action out of it? A weak kick is kind of the symptom, right? Well, we'll get a kick, but it's not a super strong kick. What do you think would cause that in this circuit?
The switch not being adjusted properly.
Okay, that's one half. Yes. What could be the other half of why we would get a weak push?
The wrong rubbers on the slingshots. Like,
No, but technically, yeah, maybe if you stretch like the world's tightest rubber around something.
Whoops.
Coil plunger dirty. Well, yeah, I mean that is also a possibility.
Oh, a tired, old, worn-out spring, said Mr. J. Crane.
But a lot of these people are correct in certain ways, but let's
Coil plunger dirty.
possibly.
coil
But
sleeve.
let's go to the simplest solution,
Plunger
right?
mushroom.
What are our two simplest solutions? Emoto said one, misadjusted switches, but Steve got it right. Smidge 37, power loss. Why would we get power loss?
Oh.
What would cause power loss?
Oh, cold solder joint.
No, not cold solder. A sticky pivot could also be that, but we've proven that it's not sticky. But a dirty switch.
Dirty, just dirty.
A dirty switch, right? This is what happens with end of stroke switches also, right? When you've got something that drives direct current, when they close and open, not direct current, this all runs on AC, but when we have something that actually drives something, right? Yeah, Eternal Grimmy got it too, yes. When we have something that drives current, when the switches close and then they open, it arcs. When it arcs, it creates dirt, dust, and it deteriorates the surface of the switch. So this could simply be a really dirty switch. It's pitted, it's nasty, it's not shiny, they're not touching very well. You're not getting a full closure that'll give you a nice strong kick. So let's clean them. Since this is pretty weak, I'm going to bust out some heavier artillery. We're going to grab a metal file here.
So clean and adjust.
Clean and adjust. Yes, exactly.
And
That's what we're
adjust.
going to do here. And a lot of other people had some really, really good answers though, right? Like definitely dirty coil sleeves, mushroomed and worn out plungers, sticky pivot points. Those will also all cause crappy action from devices like this. But like, let's start at the simplest thing, right? We know that it needs to have a good, clean surface to close and kick and do stuff, and let's start there, right? And then we can get into some of the more involved things once we've taken care of all the really easy stuff. What's up, Colin?
Eternal Grammy says just desolder and resolder everything.
Nah, definitely not going to do that.
Done.
So I'm just going to grab my file. I'm going to close this switch by pinching it shut and then just give it a good whoop. 1, 2. I'm going to do it for both sides. 1, 2.
Thanks for dropping all those product links in there, Midge.
That's yanking away a bunch of the crud that could be built up on these switches. Now, I haven't really looked at them. I don't know how bad or how screwy they are. They don't look that bad, but let's also make sure we adjust them nicely. Because like I was saying in the beginning, we had, 2001 involves a lot of indirect action. We can't use the flipper to shoot for a lot of these drop targets, and we really rely on the slingshots and pop bumpers to do some of our work for us. So it's imperative on this game to have good action. So
yeah, Dwayne asked if you switched to slingshots before testing those pops, but yeah, since we're under the playfield, right, you're just adjusting.
Yeah, let's just do them both. I knew that this one was going to be really easy and wouldn't involve a lot of work. So we can take a look at this one pretty quick. So again, you've got two switches that are wired in parallel. So only one of them needs to shut for the circuit to actuate and work. And the one on the lower left needs to close a whole lot more before it actually actuates or hits the switch. So we'll just come in here. You do have a tension blade underneath here. So we're going to want to hit the, we're going to want to put our switch adjuster here on the tensioning blade. And we're going to go as far up in the switch stack as we can and just give it a teeny bit of a tweak. I didn't do enough. Let's get the switch. I'm going to grab the actual switch now and ensure that the switch is tensioned against the tensioning blade well. And then I'm going to move the tensioning blade. And now it's extremely close. This could be a little too close. So I'm going to try to back off on the actual switch itself just a teeny bit and try to give ourselves maybe a 0.5 millimeter or a 1/8 of an inch or so of a gap. We want to make sure that, these are the most important parts of pinball. You know, they might screw you over every single time. You know, slingshots and pop bumpers can definitely not be your friend in a good game, but those are the things that create action and chaos in a game, and that's what we need for it to be fun. So you need to ensure that they are giving you that good action. I'm going to tighten this switch bracket down because it looked a little loose, but it's totally not.
Eternal Grammy asked, is there any way that a meter would give any indication of a dirty closed switch?
Possibly, but it doesn't matter. Just get in there and fix it. It's like you could get in there and maybe see like the difference in resistance or something like that, but that's not going to tell you anything. Just get in there and clean it and then work through the problem.
Along the same lines, Mr. J. Crane said, if a cruddy switch is causing a voltage variation or reduced voltage, cleaning and adjusting could fix it, but would it be almost impossible to measure the voltage because the action happens so fast? But you're saying it doesn't even matter to measure it at all. It
really doesn't matter. It's like, these are things that would matter if we were dealing with like a finely tuned, you know, piece of super cool like F-35 fighter jet something or other. This is a pinball machine. It's designed to be worked on people like me that are not smart. And you go through actions to make things work. We know that a cruddy connection, right? If we smeared a little bit of mud in between these switch contacts, we know that we might get a little bit of a connection, but it wouldn't be a good one. We really want to make sure that they're, you know, it's a nice clean metal on metal contact without any crud, without any pitting, good, you know, switches touching each other, nice and flat, nothing like cockeyed or anything like that. We want both switches to touch each other to get the best contact surface, to give us the best kick. I definitely think that these are all great questions, and I hope that I'm not like just giving you answers that make it seem like I'm dismissing what you're asking, but it's not complicated, and there's no need to overcomplicate some of these things. We don't have a very good, clean, perfect path to ground, and we want to make sure we have the cleanest, best, most perfect path to ground. That's what we're trying to do. While we're here, I'm going to take a look at the actual slingshots that are by the flippers. And I'm just going to rinse repeat exactly what I just did. Really quick here. Just since we're here, I notice a big fat gap on this right one. These are all things I may have never done, or these things could have been like exasperated by this pinball game getting strapped to a pallet and then being shipped across country. But I love this game. I had a fun conversation with George Gomez about how much I love this game a couple weeks ago, and then I started playing it, and I want to make it play better because I very much enjoy playing 2001. These switches are pretty dirty, but running the file through them creates a nice shiny spot. And again, you don't want to get in there and file the crap out of them. Filing the crap out of them will start to really break down and wear away the contact. We just want to clean up a nice spot and put it back in. This game's insane. Let's take a look at some really cool stuff also before we set it down and see if any of our fixes did anything. What time is it? Oh, perfect. We'll go for another couple minutes here, and then we'll give it a play and see if we need to work on 2001 again. Gottlieb did some crazy stuff. These coils run on 110 volts. They have plastic wire. Plastic wire in a lot of electromechanical games generally indicate high voltage, and to be careful. Most of these wires are all wrapped in, wow, English is totally not working.
Cloth?
Yes, like a cloth wrapped wire. The plastic ones here denote high voltage. Look at these drop target banks. I think Gottlieb did this even in the 80s when they reused a bank really similar. But you use these two like Mondo super crazy monster coils to reset this like insane long drop target bank. So you've got two coils with a armature inside here that both fire at the same time to reset the drop target bank. And there's something really satisfying to me about the pace and like the cadence of an electromechanical game resetting, because you'll hear it reset steppers and then it'll reset all of the score reels like tick, 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 tick. And my favorite part about this is right before it's about to serve the ball, the last two switches that it hits on that motor are to reset these things. And they're just offset just a little bit. So, tack, 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 tick, 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 tick. And then you hear burp, burp, and you see both of those drop target banks just go boom, boom. It's so cool. Each of those coils is fused. Each one is fused individually. So you have, at the bottom of this, you've got two fuses, one for each of these coils. It's super cool. I also like this mechanism here for the saucers. It's just a slingshot, but it also runs on two coils, but all 5 of these kick-out holes are linked to like one armature. So both of these guys at the bottom here will fire at the same time to eject the balls from the top, which is kind of fun. But yeah, otherwise it's a very simple game. I very much prefer 1- and 2-player Gottlieb games. They're very easy to work on. They're very simple. There's not a lot going on here. We don't have very many stepper units. It's a very simple game.
Are those shields original?
What?
Are those shields original?
What shields?
The eject shields?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all these little plates. Yeah, that one's all marbled and purple too. It's pretty. I didn't rebuild the flippers on this game. These games don't like wear out that much. I don't see a ton of benefit of rebuilding a lot of these older flippers unless they're like totally shot. Can you switch to the handheld camera, Emoto?
Yeah.
They're pretty powerful. So you've got flipper coil, a long fiberboard actuator. But if we look at it, like if I wiggle it around a little bit, I'm gonna tension it up a little bit and then wiggle that fiberboard. I don't know how old these are. These could be. I mean, they're old, but
they look pretty
old. If I put this thing down here, we don't have very much. There's not. I'm trying to do it with one hand. There's very little free play. We've got some free play down here, but there's very little play here. If your game has this much play, you're not going to get that crazy. It's not going to improve your experience that much by purchasing new flipper parts. I wouldn't. I didn't on this game because it plays just fine. But, I mean, you could just replace these fiber pieces. These are very cheap. The rest of this stuff never wears out. This doesn't wear out. These springs very rarely wear out. The plungers do, and they can. The coil stops do. But generally, the weak point is this fiberboard, and that is what is, meant to be replaced most of the time. But yeah, otherwise, it's a simple game. Let's fire it up. Let's see what it does.
Oh, this is like.
Oh yeah, wait, hold on. No, look at this. This thing's super cool. You see like that super neat marbling and that purple plastic down there?
Oh yeah, that's what you're talking about, Midge.
If you were to replace that with like a modern reproduction part, like if you bought one from us, it would not look nearly as cool. But if yours is cracked and all goofy, then you'd definitely want one that works instead of doesn't look super cool. But yeah, I love the marble, and I love this finish, this anodized like bronze-looking finish. I remember a customer.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm sure this gave a lot of people cancer.
Oh God.
I worked on a game for a guy. He brought it into our shop, and he's owned it since the early 70s. But it was like a 60s Gottlieb game called The Happy Clown, and that game had the shiniest finish of like everything inside that I've ever seen. Like I feel like I could have licked it. It was that clean. I'm looking at everyone's talking. Yeah, so the all of those things are actually color matched, Steve, to like the drop targets, almost. So you've got your red, the white one is blue, green, and yellow. So when you knock down all the red drop targets, the red hole will light for 300 points. So let's fire this thing up.
Fire it.
And listen, I'm going to get my mic close to this. Listen to the drop target banks resetting just like a teeny bit offset. Dun, dun. Isn't that awesome? I guess I got the order wrong. They actually reset before the other one. I'm going to move this camera in, and let's just quickly, you get a really awkward, bad view of a little bit of 2001. I'm going to close the coin door.
Eternal Grammy, he was saying the plastic insulation is for higher voltage, right? Versus the cloth insulation?
Yes. Most of the on Gottlieb games, when you have a plastic or a rubber insulated wire, it's high voltage. Anything like under 24 volts and below on these games is in cloth.
Wait, stop playing. Can you tilt up your camera? We want, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so let's look at that. Oh, that's better. I can already feel that this is better because when I got one good closure on one of the switches, I got a good snap. Before it would kind of just go like, But when I closed one all the way, it gave a good thwap.
Thwap.
Yeah, oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Ooh, look at them 2-inch flipper skills. I was using a stunt double. That's why the gameplay is so good.
Oh, that's so much better. Holy crap. One thing that's great about this game is you get some really, really awesome Lazarus saves. So when the ball does something like this, like, let me see if I can.
Oh, it saves itself.
You know, it's like, it wouldn't come down that fast, but sometimes when it bounces down like that, it'll just bounce back into play. And you just feel like a total pinball god. So let's see.
Now, Collins.
When the ball is being kicked into the pop bumpers.
I used to write for Batman, too.
That's normal for the ball to kind of like be yeeted into the pop bumper and to not to do anything.
Yeah, thwap and yeet. Yeah.
But otherwise, it's working quite well. Let's check the reset, because I'm curious. I want to get this right in my head. So watch this. We're going to hit the last red drop target.
Okay.
Hey. Okay. Now we've got a lit red hole. So we've got 300 points here. And if we drain out the left out lane, we get 300 points for draining there. If I hit the last yellow target, this is now lit for 300 points. And so is this out lane. Get the green one. Same thing. We've now hit all the drop targets. And now we have the center hole lit for special. And we have this target lit for special here. I think that these alternate when you hit a 1-point switch. So I think these are 1-pointers. Let's hit that. Nope. Okay, so it's not 1 point. Let's hit back here. Are these 1.2? Okay, so behind is 1.2, but the alternating relay might not actually change until we hit something that runs the motor. So let's hit that 300-point relay, and you can see what I mean. And a lot of the times, a lot of games that do require the game to, think to score points will hold the ball in that location. There are some games where you'll hit a rubber that'll give you 500 points when lit, but In this game, if we hit something that makes the game think, it's going to hold the ball for a second. And let's also see if the alternating relay moves, which will then change my special shot. Yep. So the game sat there and it thanked for a second. It gave me that 300 points. You heard the score motor roll. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's the score motor turning 120 degrees and then hitting a switch on the score motor for 100 points, 100 points, 100 points. And that's how you score multiples. Now, I did notice that the special light was out. So since we have everything lit up like a Christmas tree right now, let's ensure that we have all the lights working. That one works. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, okay, we have a 2001 that works now. I'm pretty stoked. It definitely has a lot better action. We have one lazy lamp socket back here. One day I would love to, if I had like any free time, I'd love to restore this game and just do it all. But for now, I'm just super happy with the way it is. And everything seems to work. We've got our instruction card here. You see how we've got the third ball in play? I love that. It's just these little things that make these games so interesting. Okay, but we don't have a fourth ball in play. Let's fix that. That's been driving me nuts forever.
Aldhan. Hi, yes.
Let's open up to Q&A now, so I can not just keep gushing about how awesome 2001 is.
You're gonna say TNA.
TNA is also awesome, but they start with very similar words. Sort of.
2000. TN 2001. It's someone's license plate.
This lamp socket is just
Awesome.
like incredibly lazy.
So if anyone has any questions about games that you're working on and you're stuck, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat for Kyle and all the amazing people in our chat that will probably help answer your question as well.
I don't want to take the apron off again. Oh, the cutout for the
While
coin.
Kyle jiggles some lamps. I am just like a lamp socket.
Lazy? No, you're not lazy. I'm
Yeah.
actually the incredibly lazy one.
Putting AI generated pinball pigs all over my reports. That's what AP
That one's especially bad. Holy moly.
is laziness.
I might be, the DEF CON solution is to just solder the wires from the tab onto the bottom of the plunger, and that will just solve all problems, but also nuke the assembly. Let's drain.
Is there a procedure for spring placement on Gottlieb EM flipper return springs?
Yeah, on this style there certainly is. Let's take a look. Another thing I love about Gottlieb single players is that when you're playing really intense and you're really into the game and also check it out. So Matt was right. If you knock all the targets down from ball to ball, they stay down. I think on Dimension, I think that if you knock them all down and get a wow, they come back up again. I think. I might be wrong. But if you're playing on a wedge head and you're having a great game and you're getting really intense and you do the, your death save or your last ditch save and you go and you tilt, it's game over. It's just done. You're done. I love that. It's so brutal.
It's savage. Kevin said, I have one flipper that will sort of bounce on the end of stroke.
Well,
Asking about
it depends on the
flippers.
game, but let's look at early 70s game. These were not Gottlieb's greatest flippers. I mean, they were great flippers, but they're not the super awesome ones from the late 70s that like never need new parts ever because they're incredible. But there is a spring. This is going to be kind of hard to show, but you've got a spring that screws in with the screw of the bushing. Let me use the other camera.
I was going to say maybe you can use the other flipper. Okay. Hold on. Stand by. Ooh. Okay.
You see that? You see that goofy looking spring here? So it screws in here.
Oh.
And generally, when you take these things apart or put them back together, you want to count how many turns. You want to count how many turns that it makes past its unwound point. So if I were to take this off the pawl here, I would count 1, 2, until it's loose. Generally, on almost every single Gottlieb game I've ever worked on, might not totally be 100% true, it's 3 winds. But to get it in a good spot, it depends on where this screw goes. Generally, I think if I remember right, most of them are usually installed on the lower screw facing or the upper screw facing like the upward side of the playfield. But it's just, get the tensions right, don't overwind them. If you need to really crank down and wind on them super hard, you should address other things in the assembly. You shouldn't need to really, really overwind them. Are those the springs,
APB
Steve?
says you're missing a rivet on that switch.
Yeah, I just noticed I'm missing a rivet on the end of stroke switch, but it's what was that? Oh, I was hitting a drop target score switch. Oh, you've got 2 sets of switches on these drop targets too? Oh, let's actually go back to this really quick. This is the weakest part on this flipper, those springs. The springs are the only part that you might need to actually replace most of the time. So a wood screw will fix anything. I think the reason I've never fixed this with an actual screw is because I can do this and it doesn't rotate, so I've just never bothered to actually fix that because it's fine. You've got 2 sets of switches on these drop targets, which is kind of crazy. These ones will light a light, I think, and these ones are momentary and they score. Or no, this is series. On this game, it's series. So you can see when all of these switches are down in a grouping, so you've got this wire here that feeds all of these switches, but you've got independent wires that go on one side and another on this side. So when these 5 are down, it will trigger some sort of a relay, like green down relay, and it will light something else. These are momentary. So when the drop target actually drops, halfway through its stroke, that switch will close, score points, and when it's fully down, the series switch will be closed. On some games, it acts as a series switch and a lamp switch, like that game over there, Jack in the Box. Another game with a beautiful 10 drop target bank.
It's so good.
So you need to make sure all those are clean, and that's pretty easy. These are dirty. If you noticed when I was bringing the camera up by, it does help sometimes to put like a dab of grease at the bottom of these Gottlieb drop targets, and sometimes also putting them on the things that rub against the back of the switches to reduce the friction so you don't get drop targets that hang halfway. I'm not the kind of person that will take a game all apart and then throw it into an ultrasonic cleaner and stuff like that. I find that a waste of time. I'd rather clean it as good as I can with what I have and then make it work. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just not my style. So it's a little gross because they are a little greasy. But
do you have any tips for calming flipper buzz? So Kevin Moore's working on a magic carpet, which is the same Gottlieb as that.
If you've got really buzzy
he's tried
flippers,
spring washers, tightening the coil the best you can.
I would replace your coil, replace the plungers and replace the coil stops. If you can't get it to stop by just tightening things, then it's probably time to start replacing some parts. What you'll have is like a plunger that will wear like differently than the stop, and they'll just buzz together.
Oh, yeah,
it's really common on AC coils, and all this stuff runs on AC. So replace both plungers and stops.
You have said that a lot. That's something ingrained in my brain.
You're just stuck with it. That's just how it works then.
Replace
how buzzy these
both
are.
plungers and stops. Oh no. Kyle, now what?
You just live with it, and that's just how it works.
Just turn the music up louder when you play again. Like your radio.
That's just
your
a
Spotify.
byproduct. It's a byproduct of AC flippers. That's just what they do. It's not a bummer. It's just
Like that?
just cool. That's what they sound like, you know?
Oh, I just lost TeamViewer.
Yeah, I saw. Here.
So, Mike had a question about his obstacles too that Midge was helping him, but basically he had one that's out and all the other ones are working well. So if you knew or have seen that issue before.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. What you can do is
Thank you.
to make sure that you know that to differentiate if it's the yopsicle or not is get a patch wire, like an alligator clip, and
There you go. That's smarter than pulling the whole thing off.
yeah. So what I'm trying to so the here, let me sit down because I'm tired of standing.
Yeah. Go on and pop a squat over there.
The so on a
Oh,
Bally
he's-
game, the
Oh,
wire, right? The metal wire that runs all throughout the playfield into every lamp, that carries voltage, and then the individual rubber wire that runs back to the lamp driver board, that's what provides a path to ground when the SCR does its magic. So what you can do is grab a patch wire and attach attach one end of that patch wire to ground. So you can use the side rail of your cabinet or something like that. Get the other side and tap it up against the portion of the yopsicle where the wire solders to. And if it lights, the yopsicle is good, and you have an SCR, a connector, or a SCR or a connector issue. It flickers.
Oh, sorry. It flickers, not out.
Well, so does it flicker like when it's called up? Because what you could do is just, I mean, if you ground it and hold it there, right? If you put one end there and then put the other end on ground, and if it flickers then you know you've probably got a bad yopsicle. But if it doesn't, then you've probably got a bad connector or something like that on the other side. So I would check that. That would be the way to solve that. A lot of the times those, like I say this all the time, but the little connectors, the .100 guys that run all the lamps on those Bally games, they just suck. And they snap. And you might end up needing to rebuild that one connector, or resolder the back of the driver board and then build a new connector, and that'll usually solve the other end of the problem. So yeah, it can only be one or the other, right? So if your connector off the board is, if this SCR is providing a path to ground, and then it gets to that connector and it's got a so-so connection, you'll get a flicker or nothing at the driven device. So those are the things I would check first. But if you want to ensure that the actual yopsicle is not bad and isn't just like prone to flickering, just provided its own solid path to ground without anything driving it, and that'll tell you something. I don't know if it'll tell you what you want to hear, but it'll tell you something. Yeah. What you can also do, those the 0.1 kk connectors, they can snap a lot. So if imagine that this connector was a 0.100, if you hold it up like to some light and you look into it, you should see all the pins like blocking the light coming from the other side. If any of them are snapped or broken, you might be getting like the teeniest connection or something like that, and you'll be able to see light through all these little windows, if that makes sense. So that's how you can check for snapped pins. Like Molex technically like rates all those things for like how many insertions they can do before like they can't be guaranteed to be perfect, and it's something like comically low, like 8 times or something like that. And we know in reality that you can unplug those things like a bazillion times and they're like okay. But that game's ancient, and who knows what condition they're in. And also, 8-Ball Deluxe might be the era that uses IDC connectors, and we all know that those things are hot garbage. So you never know.
He hates the
If
IDC
it is an IDC
connectors.
connector, you won't be able to see the window. Trick. So, I don't know, whatever.
It's good. So when are you trying to work on your Deadpool, Kyle?
I don't know, whenever I get it back. I'll just bring a couple webcams and a light home and, yeah.
Party!
It'll be great. I have to ask my wife first. She might be like, I don't want you doing that. I'm working.
She wants to be on the stream.
She absolutely does not.
She has been before. He forgot to preface that with hot, steaming garbage.
Yes.
His favorite meal of the day.
Yeah. I love eating hot, steaming, crappy IDC connectors. Barf.
Well, if they're steamy, they might be kind of soft, which is nice.
That's disgusting. Well, look, we kind of fixed all of our problems in one little episode. I like these things that are concise, and you can just be like, yeah, look, we have a problem, and now we've...
So we learned in this episode how to adjust the pop bumpers switches. If a pop bumper is machine gunning, how to fix that, and how to adjust slingshot switches.
Yeah, and how to, like, see how
And
simple,
other
like, the circuit
tips and
is.
tricks
How to take
underneath,
a look
yeah.
at that little, you know, the schematic, which is pretty simple.
How to read schematics a little bit, yep.
It's, yeah, it's not that confusing. It's just, like, knowing where to look, you know?
Yeah,
Try
it
to
was
hit
awesome.
that,
Jimmy said, great job.
Thank you. We get like, it's more about like knowing where to look instead of like thinking about other things. Or like, you know, that circuit is so simple, it's like you might as well just go for gold, right? Just go do everything. It wasn't hard to go in and adjust everything on that relay and do it all in one go, you know?
IDC stands for I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care connector.
Yeah. I don't care to work. Kyle does
but then
care
you
if
would-
you choose
you
to
would
use them
love-
because I will tell you
yeah.
you're wrong and making a bad choice.
So next week, are we going back to Party Monsters and Elvira's?
I don't know. No, we're just gonna play it off the cuff.
What's the battlefield?
What?
Yeah, we could look at
Battlestar
that. We could look at
Galactica?
that shadow and figure out why the battlefield on that Marco's shadow doesn't work. I hate
There's
that
a shadow
translate.
there?
It's so bad. It's so stupid. I don't
Why?
understand alternate translates. They're so dumb.
Oh,
Here,
there's an alternate translate of shadow? I want to see
it's
this.
stupid. Here,
Field trip time.
yeah, put on that. It's
What?
like the
I can't see it. It's so dark.
They showed
Bro.
how really bad it is and how Mortal Kombat.
You mean how amazing?
No, it's terrible.
What do you
like
mean?
the original one is like
Oh.
it is what it is, right? But this is not any better. This is
No alley ball.
it's terrible.
Some Mortal Kombat looking
Yeah.
katana lady.
Con.
It's got like Mortal Kombat dude. It's got like www.google.com Mongolian guy photoshopped in, and it's like in a bazillion
Genghis
times
Khan.
worse like resolution than anything else. It's so bad. It is so dumb. Like why? I don't care. Why the hell do people do this? Like, does this make the game better to you? It's terrible. Like,
I don't mind it.
it's terrible. It's because you're not here and you can't see how pixelated and awful this looks. It's just super crap. The original one, you're disrespecting the game. It's just dumb. This is a fun game though. Everyone loves the Shadow, right?
Shadow's
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the shadow
I do
so
too.
much.
It's super cool.
Colin says it's better.
No, you're wrong. Well, he also likes cold white
Yeah.
LEDs, so I
See,
don't respect
Colin
his opinion
knows.
on that. It looks like crap.
Colin knows. I don't know. Kyle's just so opinionated.
Well, because I'm right. It looks terrible. Like, yeah, let's take like our favorite movie and like make another movie poster for it, but also use like crappy pixelated like assets, and it's just so bad.
Sanctum looks good.
Are there any alternate translates you do like, or are you just kind of against?
I like the ones. I like some of those alternate, like reimagined Williams ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, like the ones Brian Allen.
Yeah. Some of those ones that Brian Allen does. It's just fun because it's like they're so well drawn. And
do you like the Raven alternate translate?
No, those are all terrible. Those games are so special because of what they do look like, right?
Oh, Arik made a shadow translate? I didn't know that.
I don't know about that one. I like the I do like some of those, but I don't know. I don't see the appeal to it. I get the appeal of people wanting to customize their stuff, but like why customize that? I don't know.
That one's cool. Look at this one. What do you think? This is the one Arik made. Those years ago. It's clean.
Yes. If I had to say, like, if I had to rank that between that piece of crap on that game, the original Translate, that one is a solid number 2, like miles ahead of that thing. Because it's neat, it's stylized. Raven. But I think the problem you run into is that it's like it's not a concise package anymore when you change the art, right? The original Translate for this game fits the rest of the package that is put together. You know what I mean? And like when you have like one very distinct art style on one place and then a very different art style the rest of the game, it doesn't look the same. So I don't know.
Midge, the original Translate for Raven is like the best ever.
I agree with Steve. I'll die on that hill with him. All of those photorealistic, silly translates that Gottlieb did are so good.
Yeah. Howard's back. Confirmed switch stacks on all rows open and close in correct states. On to the next thing. But reset still doesn't run to 0 out reels. Reels.
It's hard to give concise advice without actually being there, but I'm going to say that you still have a problem, most likely, with those resets. The most score reels have like 3 states for those, 3 switches with 3 states. You've got a set of switches that will complete a circuit that says we're all on 0, so stop resetting us. You'll have another switch on a score reel that says I'm not at 0, keep stepping me up until I reach the 0 switch. And you have another switch only on the 9 position that will close or open or whatever, that will say, hey, I'm on 9, so roll over to the next digit. I would say that you even if switches look closed, clean them. Give them a teeny push together. Run a business card through them and wipe some schmuck away. There could definitely still be something there goofy, but they're very simple, right? There's one switch that says, hey, I'm on 0, stop. One switch that says, hey, I'm not on 0, keep going. And one that says, I'm on 9, so when we're in a game, roll over to the next score. So, sorry, I got real angry about translates for a second.
Somebody saying Genesis needs an alternate translate?
Disagree. Genesis is hilarious.
Oh, Genesis is...
The thing is, like, I think, like, the thing that bums me out sometimes is people take pinball way too seriously. Like, Genesis is hilarious, and it's hilarious because of that translate. Like, for one of the things. That's what gives it part of its special character. You know what I mean? Is that goofy translate.
You know what I think, what I look at them, too.
Which, no.
Joe Danner is a target market for alternate translates. Uh-oh.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But I guess also that's the thing is like I shouldn't be so grumpy about things because pinball isn't serious. And I'm not. It's just you can do whatever you want with your game. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. It's your game. You own it. I don't care what you do with it. But I don't know. I just think it's like some people are like, I'd never let that game in my house. It's so ugly. It's like, okay, Mr. Hoity-toity pinball guy.
And speaking of taking pinball seriously, That Twitch going down earlier is made no one else jump on streaming pinball yet.
Really?
It's just us and our lonesome. So in a bit, we might have to go raid some seals.
Yeah, we can raid the
What
seals.
about
That's fine.
California burbs?
Birds?
They got burbs.
We can raid some burbs too, I guess.
Burbs? What is it, like security cameras?
No,
It's
birds. Just birds.
Birds. Oh. I thought you said burbs, like the suburbs. And I was,
I think
okay.
no. There's definitely some alternate translates that can fit like graphical styles, and they're neat and all. But like that's part of the magic of the game is the art, and I feel definitely slighted when someone feels like they need to change it because there's so much great pinball art, and that's what makes it so campy and cool, you know. Like Flash.
Yeah.
Flash is like one of the most
Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
god-awful pinball machine art packages of all time. But that's what makes it so incredible. You know? Colin's wrong. You should kick him
I
on
don't know,
YouTube.
Trident. Have you seen Trident's?
The Stern game?
No.
It's pretty bad.
Is it? Oh, yeah, it is a Stern, isn't it? An old Stern game?
Art is my favorite part
It's
of a
so
pinball
funny.
game, which is probably why
That's
I
your,
am so
that's
passionate
why
about
it's
it.
your favorite art.
Oh,
Look at that
Trident's
guy.
great. That's super cool.
We have that one at 1984 Branson. It's hilarious.
Really?
Right next
that's
to
a neat
Grand
game.
Desert. Yeah.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, art definitely makes or breaks a game, right? Like Hard Body is like a really incredible pinball machine. But there's so many people that are just like, "Oh, that game sucks. Why would I play a game with a buff workout woman on the back? Like it like attacks their masculinity or something." But it's like
Finches.
if Hard Body was something else, like if Hard Body was like Harley Davidson and drinking beer and listening to Bob Seger, a bunch of these people would be like, yeah, man, that game's great. Where with the art package it has, it makes some people like angry for some reason, right? But it's a great game. And then
It's
there's-
such a good
But
game.
there's also so many
It's the
things
best
that can
game
go
ever.
like the other way, right? Like that's the reason why so many of these Bally games are so like incredible is because the art packages are just so fantastic and cohesive, right? It creates a really neat environment that draws you in. And you know, and then definitely some games totally do it better than others. Jungle Lord is hilarious. It's such a crazy, silly art package, but it's a great game. But you know,
Kings of Steel.
Kings of
Oh,
Steel
yeah,
is
Nitro Ground
so
Shaker
weird.
is great.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But it is. But art can definitely make or break a pinball game, and that is, you know, right, because it's the first thing that you can draw an opinion on. Because when you're at the bar ordering your beer and you look over at the, you know, the row of pinball games, like you're going to be attracted to one. And why are you attracted to that game? You know, is it the theme? Is it the way things are drawn? Is it the mood? Is it the color? Like, why does this one attract you to it? And it can totally make or break a game, right? You can only make a first impression once. And when you look at Hard Body and for some reason super cool Rachel McClish like hurts your masculinity somehow.
Hey, it's art. Greg Ferris drew all the biceps on the playfield.
Yep. And he
everything else.
refuses to talk about that game or sign
And
anything
I will give him
about it.
all the credit he deserves because those are some great pictorial
Spa's incredible.
drawings.
Now he told me that one's he
I know.
finds that
He-
one to be embarrassing.
Yeah, he told me he wouldn't talk about it ever. But I will continue
He'll
to.
come back around though. One day he'll be proud to talk about
Maybe.
I think so.
Maybe.
The color palette is so nice and so like the time. You're talking about yeah. The back glass is art. It's sculpted human art. You know. Come on, people work hard on that.
You know, and I agree with. I can't read the username fully from here, but like I agree. Like, I mean, photos aren't what I want to look at either, right? It's like I would much rather see illustration because it definitely gives a different warmth and environment to the game. But that's just the way things were going, right? At that point, it was for some reason someone in the executive team was like, "Yeah, photos are what we need to try." And obviously, it didn't work for Bally very well because they did one more game, and the next game didn't have fucking, Oh, I swore. Oh, I just swore real bad.
What'd you do?
I said the.
You said ducks.
Then
He was ducking.
they never used photos again, right? Gottlieb did it for
ban
a
Kyle.
period of
Okay.
time.
Wait, how do I ban him? Hold on. I think I know. Wait. That's kind of like banning him.
Yeah, you
Can't see
should
his
ban
face
me.
anymore.
I swear a lot, and now when I'm like getting passionate about what I'm talking, my normal talking voice is coming out, not my like, oh, I'm Kyle doing PinTech live voice. I do so. Yeah. Ban me. I'm gonna get APB Enterprises on the show. Maybe not next
Yay!
week, but he's gonna come on
Why
the
not?
show either next
We
week or
should
the
do it
week
next
after
week when
something.
I'm in town too.
He's gonna we're gonna talk about coils a little bit, and I want to talk to him because he won't admit it, but he is a very interesting person in the pinball sphere, and I want to talk about his histories and stories, and we'll talk pinball and drink some beer and have a good time. But he's the
Can
coil
we
guy.
do that next Thursday?
If he's down for it, yeah, let's do it. We can bring we can install the Hot Rod Baywatch coils that he may or may not have remembered to make for me before he drives here. And yeah,
Well, if he's driving, he still has time to bring them.
that's true.
He
Genie
could like
does
coil.
have an awesome.
He
art
could wind
package.
him while he drives.
He cannot wind him while he drives. That's dangerous.
Yeah, we want to bask in your boringness.
Andrew, this is the
APB.
boringest stream on Twitch. What everyone's sitting in here right now. I'm just so amazed that you guys come and join me, and it's fantastic. So everyone wants to hear you're boring. I
Yeah,
am the
we
boringest
really
person
do.
in the world.
Yeah, and you're our longest subscriber.
That's right,
think
friend of the show
so.
and mod. So yeah, I guess we should raid someone because I want to go home and be boring and play video games. Also, speaking of streams and stuff, the Twippies, don't vote for us. It actually warms both of our hearts that
Vote for the people that. Yeah.
we actually made it into the official like thing, right? Like when Emoto's on the stage
Yeah, thank
doing
you.
the Twippies, she has to say who the nominees are, and one of those nominees is our stream, which is pretty cool. But vote for someone else
30 months.
who puts a lot of
Not even 30 months
passion
old.
into it that isn't me. I put a lot of passion into
There's
this.
a lot of great choices in there.
There's a lot of great choices. Loose Flip, Andy streams mostly in German,
Mr. J.
but
Crane,
like
that's awesome.
he doesn't only stream in German, and his stream is incredible. Manu, Mystery Pinball Theater 3000, just has such great production value and just makes incredible content and is an incredible person. We all know Jack Danger is the best, but he wins too much, so only vote
JD
for
number
him.
one.
No, it's
I know.
kidding.
Yeah.
You know,
Come on.
Hup Challenge and in Pennsylvania, they're incredible. I can't believe that
Yeah.
they're not. They're not on that finalist list either, are they? Which is a shame.
It was
They're
an
fantastic.
intense list. Yeah, it was a really long voter list, and only the top 10 out of all the write-ins progressed to the drop-down menu for the main voting. And yeah, not this year. This year, we missed a lot that were on the ballot for last year. So it's just a lot of people are streaming, and a lot of people have great content, which is awesome.
I think it's
Except
like the
no
one
one
thing,
else is streaming right now on Twitch. I don't understand.
This Twitch is broken. I guess
Except
like
seals and birds.
it warms my heart that you guys did nominate us because
We
this
did
is
get
a
nominated.
unique thing, and it's pretty cool to be considered, like to just be named next to.
Can I get my vote back? Yeah, actually, you can. Here's an exploit. You can re-vote if you want. Like, if you decide that whatever votes you put in are not what you actually want to keep, you can still re-vote, because when the votes get counted, it counts your very last submission. And you know, there's so many checksums with like IP addresses, so you can't vote multiple times or try different email addresses, and you know, there's lots of different things to prevent voter fraud. But if you just make a mistake and want to resubmit your vote with different choices, you can, and just know whatever the last one you submitted is the one that's going to be counted.
I mean, if you do want to vote for us because you think we absolutely deserve it, then that warms my heart. But I definitely think that there are
Best emoto category.
there are some other people that really deserve some great recognition because you guys recognize us, and that makes me feel good. I don't need Emoto and I don't need an award. Other people do. So.
Wait, but what if Midge wants the award? He's part of the team. You just can't see him.
Well, all of us would share the award, I guess, but I think that there's some other people that put a lot of heart and soul. Bye, Steve.
No, I don't need any awards.
Oh, okay. He doesn't need an award.
He confirmed.
It does. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you
Every
for saying
Thursday
we are worth
is
a vote.
warm
I
and fuzzy.
appreciate that.
Every Thursday's warm and fuzzy. And it'll be a fun show. We are going to live stream it, but you should come to Texas and be there in person. And my co-host this year is Todd Tuckey, so that's exciting.
That's so
He's
cool.
going to be really funny on stage.
That was so awesome last year when he won his first Twippy, which is insane because he deserves bazillion of them. Like, that was fantastic. So, anyways, I guess let's stream, or let's...
Midge does need an award for Best Beard. Best Beard in Pinball is so good, we made a shirt. Dirty Donnie made a shirt. He is the wizard.
Oh, man. Yeah, that is a good advice.
Okay, yeah, let's...
Fake mustache.
It's time.
Yeah.
Pocket dogs. Freaking pocket dog. Alright, I'm refreshing one last time to see if any of our folks are on. And the answer is no. So we are going to go, per Midge's request, raid some birds.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's go see some birds.
Alright, we'll see you all next Thursday.
Goodbye, Internet.
Goodbye.
See ya.
So if you're on Twitch, you're going to go to this awesome viewpoint in California somewhere. There's a little fountain. They just had some finches. And for everyone else, you're just going to leave. So goodbye. See you next week. Thank you.